hmm the reason that I really wanted to kind of focus in on those things is because we really are, I think, in a discovery path, right? I don't think there's a way to kind of predict how these things are going to go. And I also recognize that, we're streaming this, right? So I do recognize that the color of this might be different if we were at my kitchen table and, no cameras on or what have you. Like, I get that. But I do think there's this place of discovery collectively that is aided by us kind of telling each other the truth.
Uh, People are asking me, well, what can we do? And it's just because I asked a guy I worked with, do you believe you're privileged? And he says, not at all. We were doing a class once. First question that we asked, the facility asked, do you believe you're privileged? It was a class full of white kids at Northwest College, and they all said no. Said, do you ever, when you get up in the morning, you walk out of your door, do you ever consider that you are a white individual, a white man, white woman, white boy, white girl? Do you ever consider that? And they all said no. That's white privilege. You don't have to consider it. But when, as an African American man leaving the house, I'm very, very well aware that I'm an African American man.
Mm-hmm.
Walking down the street, you see how people clutch their purses and you cross over the street and all those little things. You're aware of that. You have to be aware of that. So being willing to have those really tough conversations and come to grips with the fact that as a white American, you are privileged. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? Doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means you are built into a system that creates privilege for you.
Mm-hmm.
The general conversation about privilege and about really slowly breaking it down and what it means. I mean, I've felt it so many times. I exercise my Second Amendment. I often am armed in Memphis. And I've been pulled over. I drive quick sometimes, and I've been pulled over daytime, nighttime, and an officer has walked up to the car window, and I've handed him my carry permit, and I have benefited from I know it instantly. There's not been the fear. I've not been ordered out of a car. I've not been disarmed. They take my license, they take their permit, they go back and run me, and it's not an issue. And you can't help but wonder. It's like, I mean, I'm not getting pulled over all the time, but the 2-3 times whatever's happened, you got to wonder. It's like, come on, this would not go as easy for an African American.
But it's something that is kind of exhausting. It seems as if if it's all about justice and equality, then it doesn't matter who's asking for it. If it's true and there's a point to it, then it's something that we should all be fighting for. But it seems as if it doesn't get the attention, or it's not really taken seriously until people come in who are not of color. So that is just a thought that I've had. And then another insight or another thing that I've noticed is just that conversations about race are hard. And it seems like I think something that we could all do better at is just listening to the other person's perspective. There's a big difference between people who don't want to know, don't want to find out, and we can't worry about them. But for the people who do, I think we are kind of bad at holding space for people who really don't know. Like a lot of us, or a lot of people like to say, if you're this age, then you should understand, or if you've watched this, then you should know, or if you are on social media, you should see these patterns by now. But I think coming to Portland has taught me that a lot of people don't have exposure to being around Black people, so they don't know that when they're doing microaggressions, it's offensive. So just things like that, and when you're not willing to hold space for the person to just kind of understand where they're coming from, then the conversation can't really move forward because you're already making judgments about, well, you just don't want to know, or you're just blind, or you're just ignorant, or whatever. Like, it's not helpful, So